Welcome to another episode of the Sports Bros Podcast, featuring the almighty B Live, the money man Scottie D, and your host, the head of creative, Eddy Kool. The Sports Bros Podcast is a sports podcast that's by the fans, for the fans, talking sports just the way you like it. And without any further ado, let's give it up for the Sports Bros. Hey, what's going on, world? This be your boy Eddy Kool, and welcome to another episode of the Sports Bros Podcast. I'll admit, Scottie D, I look a whole lot better this week than I have last week. I don't know what happened, but I just look better. I don't know if it's the background or my skincare routine or what. I don't know what's going on.
I feel that way every day.
Oh man, we're
get better looking every day.
Yeah, so I guess I don't know who's going to be the sweet Stan or the beautiful Bobby in this case, but that's neither here nor there. We are here. This is episode number 135 of the Sports Bros Podcast. Now, normally, as you see both of us, if you're watching, you're wondering, where's the third guy? Well, the almighty B Live, he had to go get his shmoney. He had to go get his money. He had to go to work. And I'm not mad at him. Hey, man, sometimes you got to do what you got to do in order to get what you got to have. But guess what, though? I'm not without the other best co-host in the world, the pride of Washington, Pennsylvania, none other than the one, the only, the money man, Scottie D.
Simply having a wonderful Christmas time. What's happening? What's going on in the world today?
Oh, he gonna fight you for that one.
Ooh, boy. And let's be honest, I was in a little bit tough on him last week. He was a little bit sore this week, so he took the week off.
Oh.
I apologize again. I'm sorry, Be Live. I'm gonna really miss you this week, but you're teaching me a lesson. I'll have to start going easier on you going forward from now on. So my apologies once again. So this week we got the A team, Eddy Kool.
Me and you, huh? So
Be Live, listen. I hope you listening, Be Live.
So we got BA and Face. Ain't that the guy named Face?
That's right. Yeah, the A team.
Okay,
Yep.
okay.
BA Baracus and Face.
I almost dropped the ball on that one. See that? See?
Templeton Peck. Templeton Peck.
Yep.
His real name was Templeton Peck. Yeah.
Templeton Peck? Okay. All right, cool. Oh,
yeah.
Wow. Never knew that, man.
Trivia.
Yep.
Trivia guy.
Yeah, that's the trivia guy. If anybody want to hold some holiday trivia, call Scottie D. Scottie D trying to help you get some extra money too. Extra money, man. Extra money.
That's right.
Everybody want to have fun around this time of the year. But Scottie D, man, let's quit this here inconsistent rambling. Let's talk about some football. How you feel about that?
Let's talk football, huh? Let's do it.
Yes, sir. Let's talk football. All right. So here's what we got going on. This past week of football was some good week of football, but as of late, man, there's been a lot of teams that's trending up and a lot of teams that's trending down. So with that being said, Scottie D, when it comes to teams trending up and trending down, who you got trending up?
You know, like we said a few weeks ago, you can start seeing a little bit of separation from the pack. Eddy, how about you answer this one first, the way you wrote it? Because I have a little bit different idea of how I want to present my answer. So let me hear what you got on this one so I don't step on your toes.
Sure, no problem, as we say in the restaurant industry. All right, so trending up, the New England Patriots. Why? Because
I agree with that one.
Why? Because they're the winners of 7 straight games, and they got a big win this past Monday in Buffalo, where only 3 pass attempts by the Patriots.
Oh,
yeah, 3.
That was insane.
Yeah, 3 pass attempts by the Patriots. But other than that, they ran the ball and ran it effectively against a usually stout Buffalo Bills defense. All right. And so from the looks of it, the Patriots are sitting atop their division and have one of the top spots in the AFC, because coming into the season, we didn't think that they would be a top team in the AFC. We did not. No, we thought it was going to be Buffalo, Kansas City, Baltimore, and everybody else. We did think that. So, so the New England Patriots, they're trending upwards. So, they're dangerous, very dangerous. They're good on offense. They don't do a whole lot. They do just what they need to do in order to win the game. And also, the defense is doing what they do. Just be the vaunted Patriots defense, all right? And also trending up over in the NFC South, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They've been pretty much unstoppable since they lost those 2 games to the Saints and the Washington football team. They haven't lost since. And speaking of those same Bills, they beat the Bills in a close one as well too. And my team trending down. I'm gonna have to say the Buffalo Bills, man. They don't look as mighty as they once were. They look vulnerable. They look like they can be beat on the road and at home. So the trending down team that stands out to me the most is the Buffalo Bills, losers of two straight. I don't know what's going on, Scottie D. I think, honestly with you, man, I think the Bills, they have to establish a run game.
Yes.
They have to establish a run game because I'm over here looking around. I'm like, okay, you got the Patriots running it down your throat, so y'all not gonna answer back with the run game as well too. So like, what are we doing? I'm just there's the Bills just don't seem as mighty, Scotty D. So that's why I got trending up and trending down. I got the Patriots and the Bucks going up and the Bills going down. What say you, money man?
Well, it's strange to cite the Kansas City Chiefs as trending up, but they are. And I kept waiting for it.
Yep.
I was just about ready to give up. And I kept saying, I'm waiting for them to flip the switch. And it seems they have. And they exploded on the Raiders this week. The Raiders did their little disrespectful team meeting on a logo. Didn't sit well with the Chiefs, so they went out and handled their business.
Yep.
So I call them for trending up. We talked about the Ravens trending down a little bit. Trending up is also the Miami Dolphins.
Mm-hmm.
Might be a little bit too late, but they are suddenly back and they've won 5 in a row. They're now 6-7. Win a couple more games, and they may be able to snag a wild card spot because it seems like the Steelers also trending down, they're trying to fall out of playoff contention. But trending down, Eddy Kool, more than any team, is a player that I want to talk about. And he plays quarterback for America's team.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh is right. Uh-oh is right. Okay, so I should be really happy today, right? The Cowboys went to Washington and got a victory on Sunday. Mike McCarthy said, we're going to win that game. And the media made it turn, oh, he guaranteed. He's Joe Namath. He guaranteed to win. Whatever. I like my coach saying, we're going to win. Shows him being a little bit confident. You know, I kind of like that. It was pretty much.
You want that in your coach. You do.
Yeah, and it was really more coach speak than arrogance and we're going to win this game. It really wasn't that. It was just him talking in an interview. And then the game starts and they are rolling and it's 18-0 at the end of the first quarter. And the defense is suddenly looking good. But let me tell you, man, Dak Prescott looked bad in this game. He threw an interception early in the first quarter. He threw the ball to CeeDee Lamb. It went probably 10 feet over his head. He missed him that badly. And then when they're trying to kill the clock with 4 minutes to go, he hits a wide open linebacker for the Washington football team, perfectly in stride. Found a wide open linebacker and threw it right to him for a pick six. Eddy, these were 2 of the worst throws you'll ever seen by an adult.
Oh, wow.
At any level, not just NFL, not just college, not just Arena League or Dwayne The Rock Johnson's XFL League, or even in the backyard down here by my elementary school. That's how bad that was. That was one of the worst passes an adult's ever thrown that I've ever seen. 2 of them in the same game. Yes. So what is going on with the Cowboys? They have suddenly gone from beginning of the year. We said, if their defense can hang in there, their offensive firepower is going to be second to none. They can make a deep run. And now the star of the team is Micah Parsons. He is lit a fire into that defense. They got Neville Gallimore back to clog up the run up front. They got Randy Gregory off of the COVID list. They got DeMarcus Lawrence. Oh, actually, Gregory had a calf injury. DeMarcus Lawrence had a foot in. They're back, and the defense is looking good. Diggs holding down the secondary. And the problem is Dak Prescott, because the offensive line's been good. He's had all of his receivers. Now, granted, Zeke's been hurt and has not been himself, and now we got a problem with Tony Pollard having a plantar fasciitis in his foot. We don't know if he's even going to play again this year. That's a painful injury to have to try to play through, especially when you're a speed back.
Yeah.
But if you have problems like that, shouldn't you be able to rely on a quarterback with a $160 million contract to get you some first downs in the second half of the game? You should.
Yeah, you
Oh
should.
boy, Eddie, he is trending down, and if you watch him, he looks frightened. He looks like he has no confidence. The last time this guy really looked good was against New England on the road. That was the game that he strained his calf in the last play of the game. He threw a touchdown to CeeDee Lamb, and then they blew Atlanta off the field. But before that, he had a loss to Denver, a poor loss. They blew out Atlanta. Then they lost to Kansas City, and he looked terrible in that game. Then they lost on Thanksgiving to the Raiders. He didn't look good in that game. They beat the Saints. He didn't look good in that game. And this is a trend now. This is a big time slump. He has to snap out of this. Kellen Moore has to sit down with this guy and say, hey, dude, let's watch the film of the first week. I know we lost to the Buccaneers, but he looked like money that night coming back off of an injury. He looked like a guy who had something to prove. He looked like he was hungry. I'm going to show him that I'm not hurt. I'm back. There's no problem with my ankle. He had that weird injury under his armpit in training camp. I'm going to show everybody that's not a factor. And now you mean to tell me he can't recover from a calf injury 6-7 weeks ago? What is wrong? That's trending down. Anyway, that wasn't your question, but I had to get that off my chest.
Well, I appreciate that, Scottie D. I really appreciate that. I was like, oh, he's going to do a player? And I was like, this is going to be interesting. And then you went into the Dak Prescott situation. And I was like, yeah, that's, yeah. Now, if you want to trend, you kind of want to trend. Actually, you don't want to trend down at all. That's the whole thing. You don't want to trend down at all. But
not right now.
No, especially not the last few weeks of the season. That's the last time you want to trend down. But like you said, now's the time that you don't want to trend down. And then you said Dallas is battling injuries. Zeke ain't really getting it done. And then Tony Pollard, who's been very serviceable this year. Wished I picked him up in fantasy football, but it is what it is. And it seems
Injured.
it seems like Scottie D, when the offense is up, the trend of the last few years of the Cowboys, when the offense is up, the defense is down. When the defense is up, the offensive down. There's never been like, all right,
we haven't had much up defense in the last few years, so that's why we're kind of excited that we're having such a promising look right now at getting all these defensive weapons on the field. But offensively, we have to figure out a way. And the Cowboys, I mean, I'm going off on Dak, but they have to find a way to run the ball too. If Zeke's hurt and Pollard's hurt, you still have to find a running back. They got this Clement that played for the Eagles in the Super Bowl a few years ago. You got to be able to pick up 4 and 5 yards. Just 4 or 5 yards, just to shorten, so you're not behind the chains on 3rd and 9 and 10 all day long. So they have to be able to establish some type of run. Now, Eddie, I also want to throw another individual trending down.
Okay.
And that is Urban Meyer with Jacksonville. This guy's been a dumpster fire all year. Now he's got this kind of blame press conference thing going on. And if there's a leak, that person's going to be unemployed. And he had the thing earlier this year where his team lost and he decided to go to the strip club or whatever, go to a bar and had a girl dancing on his lap.
I'm going to go dancing. My team just got destroyed, but I'm going to go dancing. Woo! I'm Urban Meyer.
This guy is in the first year of like a $10 million a year deal. I don't remember what the length of it was, but
yeah.
Jacksonville's won 2 games. Excuse me. Sorry, that came out loud. They've won 2 games. And
hey, look, he's so aggravated, Urban Meyer, he's coughing.
He's making me sick. Yeah, literally making me sick. They're coming off a game on Sunday, Eddie, where their star pupil threw 4 interceptions. I didn't see the whole game. I understand one of them was kind of maybe not his fault, but Trevor Lawrence had a bad game. So at this late in the season, shouldn't we be seeing a little bit more, some more steps taken like the other rookie in New England is doing? I mean, that kid, I mean, he's in first place in the whole AFC. Man, I'm thinking he's not getting the proper coaching down there. If you're the owner, who's that, Chad Kahn of Jacksonville, man, you got to start thinking about cutting your ties already with this guy. He's made questionable hires. If things don't seem to be going too well, he's lashing out at press conferences, not really. I don't know, the whole thing that happened back with the dancer on the lap was botch. That was botchamania. Yeah, botch fest. Urban Meyer trending down, Eddie Kool.
Yeah, I think I want to go back and read the article, which I think I just might after we finish recording the podcast. There seems to be some tension between Urban Meyer and some of the players, even.
Marvin Jones, who doesn't have a history of this kind of behavior, evidently left the team meeting and had words with him. And last week, Trevor Lawrence is saying we need to have this. Is there James Robinson, a running back? He needs to be in the game more. And Urban Meyer said, "I'm not really the one making the decision on how much playing time he's at. You're the head coach."
Then who's making these decisions?
And if your star quarterback is telling you, "I want this guy on the field," you might want to put him out there, try to get to help him. I mean, give him more confidence. He's begging you for it practically. We knew this was a bad hire when it started.
Yeah, it was.
If you're a con man, you have to figure out a way. We don't want to lose 2 years off of this beginning of this kid's career. We're going to develop him and make some progress here. Maybe you might have to cut ties and try to see if you can pry Sean Payton away from the Saints or get a Josh McDaniel or Byron Leftwich, another offensive-minded up-and-coming coach who played the position. I don't know. Just seems like I would not be very comfortable in that seat if I was Urban Meyer.
Yeah, Urban Meyer, it sounded good at first, but I said to myself, you're no longer dealing with 18 through 22-year-olds. You're dealing with dudes that's 25 and up. They got families, car notes, mortgages, and all this stuff. And if ginormous egos. And if you come in here on that mess that you did in Florida, Utah, I think he coached Bowling Green, and at Ohio State, that's not gonna fly, man. You're dealing with some guys that are millionaires that are established, and so
that doesn't mean anything to those guys. You're right. They're established NFL guys, and he's not.
Yeah, and you're not. And so the thing about it is that there might be a whole disrespect issue going on between him and the players, because how in the hell does James Robinson go from 1,000 yards to have you seen me? Because I haven't heard a lot about him this year.
He's not getting that many carries.
No, and I thought he would be working overtime with Travis Etienne being out for the season, but no. I mean, we got to deal with,
Is it Carlos Hyde or somebody else is on the team, I think, and they're giving him carries. And supposedly because of the Robinson had some fumble issues, and that's why he's lost some of these carries. But Hyde fumbled too, and didn't seem to be an issue. I don't know. It just seems like a mess.
Wait a minute. Hold on. Didn't Urban Meyer coach Carlos Hyde at Ohio State?
Maybe. I don't know.
Makes sense. Makes see all.
Is that where he went?
I think Carlos Hyde went to the Ohio State University, if I'm not mistaken. You know what? I think he did. I just don't know when he came out, but I think he went to Ohio State, and Urban Meyer was the coach. And since you said something about fumbling issues and him letting him go back in there, maybe there's that rapport that was, am I right?
Yeah, he was there he was drafted in 2014, so that would have been in line with that era.
Yeah, so maybe that rapport is there between Urban and Carlos. But the thing about it is, you got a guy that ran for as much as this league is hurting in the running back department, you got 1,000-yard back just sitting there. Maybe getting he may be involved in 10 or 15% of the plays. Hey, look, man, I said it before and I'll say it again. Jacksonville needs a major overhaul. They need an overhaul. The Jets need an overhaul. It's a lot of organizations that need a major overhaul, and the Jags are number one. All right, Scottie D, moving right along. And speaking of football, the Heisman Trophy, we predicted it, right?
Yeah, that was kind of low-hanging fruit last week. We knew the way that was going to go. I was a little surprised that our boy from Michigan was Aiden Hutchinson. Is that his name? Mm-hmm. Yeah, Aiden Hutchinson. Excuse me. I was a little surprised he finished second, but hey, good for him, and happy to see my boy Kenny Pickett from Pitt make the trip to New York. He finished third, so good for him. It was cool to have him as part of it. But we all kind of felt it was a foregone conclusion.
Yeah. Got to give it up for Kenny. Kenny. Scottie D, Kenny Pickett gets drafted this year. He's getting drafted.
Yep.
He's getting drafted. There's no, oh, I don't know. No. Kenny Pickett is getting drafted. Let's just
Yeah.
hope. Let's just hope
He
it
made
goes.
some money.
Yeah, let's just hope it goes to he goes to a good situation. Don't go to Jacksonville.
He won't be heading there, but there's and I don't know that Kenny Pickett is going to be like a franchise type of quarterback. I think he's a really, really good college quarterback. He really built himself into one. I don't know that he's like a guy that you're going to say, yeah, this is the guy we really want to take him in the top 5. But I've heard rumors that Atlanta could be ready to move on from Matt Ryan, and maybe he goes to somewhere like Cleveland or Pittsburgh, somewhere that's not looking for a full rebuild that could use a quarterback, and Pickett could be in Atlanta. Who knows? I mean, it's way too soon to speculate, but I've heard that Atlanta has some interest in that situation. But anyway, glad to see he made it to New York, and congratulations to our Heisman Trophy winner from Alabama. Back-to-back years for Bama.
Yep, another Bama boy wins it all over again. Scottie D, we also witnessed some great action in the octagon. It was UFC 269, headlined by Oliveria versus Poirier and Juliana Pena versus Amanda Nunes. Now, Scottie D, by the time I tuned into the fight, I watched the 2 main events. But what happened throughout the duration of the rest of the card? Because I know you watched it.
There was a lot of, this was a good card, aesthetically pleasing kind of card, because there's a lot of fights in this card that were on the feet. There wasn't a lot of, not so much ground and pound, and they just weren't boring. There were guys that wanted to engage. And one of our favorites, the Sugar Show, Sean O'Malley, got yet another knockout, and he is the with the multicolor hair. I forget the name of the Brazilian guy he fought. He was one of the tougher opponents he's faced. There's been some talk that O'Malley has not stepped up in competition enough yet, and Dana White says, well, this kid's been making a slow move. He's racking up some wins, just like how boxers used to do it. Rather than rush him in to bigger, tougher fights, he's letting him win. But now he's ready to make some money. So I think in 2022 we're going to see a little bit more from Sean O'Malley. The main event with Charles Oliveria, Dustin Poirier, and we get to that in a minute. That was pretty exciting fight in itself. But the big one, the shocker, the show stealer was Juliana Pena knocking off the lioness Amanda Nunes. We didn't see this coming.
Nope.
Nobody did. She was minus 1,000 favorite going in. That's one of the biggest Vegas lines to ever have lost. Now, Nunes has not fought. She just to refresh everyone's memory, Amanda Nunes has been holding 2 belts for the last couple of years, the bantamweight and the featherweight, the bantamweight being the lighter of the two. And she did come down to defend this one for the first time since 2019. So she hasn't fought down at this weight in a couple of years. I don't know that coming down in weight had much to do with it. But Juliana Pena said, I'm going to tire her out and I'm going to beat her. But it happened in the second round. It didn't happen in round 4 or 5. I didn't believe it when she said it. But that night when I was watching the fight, I was watching the whole card, they showed Juliana Pena walking into the arena, and she had her hoodie up and her earphones on, and she just looked like she was in a world all of her own, just laser focused, the eye of the tiger, to use a old catchphrase. They showed Amanda Nunes walking in. She and her girlfriend were walking in, and they have a child together, and they were on each side of the child holding hands and smiling, and she looked very relaxed. And if you're Amanda Nunes, why not? Because nobody can beat you.
Yeah, you beat everybody.
But and beats everybody badly.
Yeah.
But when I saw that, I had this weird feeling like Amanda Nunes looks like the satisfied, going to work to do her thing champion without the hunger. And Juliana Pena looked the part of somebody who was going to beat her. And she said, a lot of these girls Nunes beats, she beats them because she scares them and they lose before they even get into the cage with her. And she said, I'm not afraid of her. And I'm going to beat her. I still didn't really believe it until the first round. Nunes knocked this girl down and she went on the ground to finish her, which I fully expected her to do. but she didn't. Instead, Pena maneuvered on the ground, used her mixed martial arts skills, actually had a hold of Nunes' arm in such a way that if Nunes made a wrong move, she could have put her into a submission hold. So she didn't get any real damage done to her. And instead, I think Nunes expended a lot of energy trying to finish her in round one. And when that didn't happen, in the second round, she'd already taken some of her shots. Man, she just punched her in the face, took her back, choked her out, and new champion. It was incredible. I was very excited because it's an upset. And I like Amanda Nunes. And she was so gracious after the fight. She didn't offer excuses or complain or say I was hurt. Nothing. It was just, this was her. She was very gracious, which is very much appreciated because you don't always get that with the UFC.
No, you don't.
But awesome night to see that. Now, as far as the men's fight go, I expected the outcome to go the way it did. I was kind of hoping to see a 4 or 5 round fight. Poirier, I think, similarly punched himself out of the fight in the first round because he had Oliveira in trouble, looked to finish him, and he said as much after the fight. He said, I wanted to drag him into the later rounds and try to beat him then. And he said, I allowed myself, in so many words, he said, I allowed myself to get into a brawl and wasn't able to get the finish. And then Oliveira took him down, controlled him the entire second round. Not much. He didn't do a lot of damage, a little bit of some elbows with the ground and pound. And then in the third round, he jumped his back and beat him with a standing rear naked choke. So now he's going to move on and probably fight Justin Gaethje. And I fully expect him to beat him in a similar manner because Gaethje's also a brawler. And I think Oliveira can withstand that kind of thing. And right now he's on top of his game. He's the best in that weight class when it comes to getting submissions. He finishes guy with submissions. He doesn't do a lot of knockouts, but he's the best right now. And next for Poirier, hard to tell. Maybe Michael Chandler was talking a little trash at him. I don't know when we'll see Conor McGregor again, if that's even a possibility they fight again. We'll see. I don't even know if that's the money fight anymore because of how it went the first 2 times.
Right. Yeah, that's a loaded weight class, man. There's a lot of good cats in that weight division, man. A lot of them.
Yeah. That's a killer division. And that's a problem for Poirier if he wants to try to get back. Poirier passed up title shots earlier to take the money fights with McGregor, and this was his big opportunity to win that championship. And now there's another cat on the horizon, this Islam Makhachev. He could be the next challenge. He's an up-and-comer. He's maybe 2 fights away from fighting for the championship himself. I think he's going to be one of those guys that if and when he does get the title, it's going to be hard to get it off of him. But for the time being, Oliveira's the man. So good night of fights, Eddy Kool. Enjoyed those fights.
Yeah, like I said, I was in the process of fixing some furniture in the house, and I was like, let me put the fight on, and I was like, oh, we had this fight. Okay, let me watch this fight. It's pretty good. Amanda Nunes. I'm like, oh, because what got me was when they were just standing in the ring in the octagon, and they just started trading blows back and forth. You started trading blows back and forth, and I was like, man, whatever the game plan was, it is scrapped now because these girls are about to throw down. And so I think I had like a hammer in my hand. I put the hammer down. I was like, I have got to watch this because this is about to get real serious real quick. And
I love it. I love it. I love those when those championship fights come about. That feeling you get right before a big title fight's ready to go down. I love it. Great feeling.
Yep, good title fight. But Scottie D, guess what time it is?
Time for a title fight?
Probably in the future. I gotta cut weight, but don't tell nobody.
Yeah, I gotta cut some myself here.
Yeah, I gotta cut weight. Gotta cut a whole slab of belly off. It is time for our favorite portion of the show, the choices of the voices. And with that being said, hey, yo, button, hit it. We'll be back, y'all.
And now, our favorite part of the show, the choices of the voices.
Again, thank you to the wonderful and ever so lovely Miss Button for introducing our portion of the show, favorite portion of the show, that is, the choices of the voices. Well, we ask you questions, you give us the answers, and we discuss it. We might pick at you, we might joke, but it's all good and clean fun. Ain't that right, Scottie D?
That is correct.
Yep, and with that being said, Scottie D, what's the question for this week's choices of the voices?
All right, I asked what Heisman Trophy winner went on to have a disappointing pro career. Now, that didn't mean Who was the biggest bust? It meant who was most disappointing. Some of you went with the bust as your answer, which I can understand, but I was really looking for the question as far as your expectations went. Who did not meet your expectations? Who let you down? Who did you think was going to be up here and either was here or here or here or way down here? But anyway, we did get some good responses here, Eddie. Cool.
Yep, we got a good one. All right, here we go. We got Tom Wynn. He says, "Can I vote for Baker now?"
He's ready to call it. He's calling it a disappointment. See, when Baker got picked first overall, I was actually a little bit surprised that he was going to be the guy because a lot of the hype was going at Sam Darnold back then.
Yep.
You know, he was the big West Coast hero. He's the big star. And then you had the two Joshes that they weren't really sure of. And who else was in there? I think Lamar Jackson was also in that draft class.
Yep, late.
I'm not
yep.
mistaken.
He was there.
I think that was the five that were getting looked at. But yeah, so I was not really sure about Baker. I thought with his size, you know, I didn't know if he had such a strong arm. He actually does have a pretty strong arm, but jury's still out. But I'm leaning towards guilty on that one. I'm kind of, because Tom Wynn is a Browns fan, so I can totally understand that answer.
Yep. And Tom, the funny thing about it is I live right outside of Cleveland, Tom, and your sentiment is damn near the same as a lot of the people around here. But
is that what are most people? I mean, what are they thinking up there, Eddie? Because Baker's contract's up next year, right? I mean, they got to figure out what to do with this guy.
I mean, if you look at it, you got a lot of people that's on the fence. A lot of people are like, I remember one of my coworkers asked me, say, Ed, who would you take? Would you take Joe Burrow or Baker Mayfield? Real quick, I said Joe Burrow.
And a heartbeat. Absolutely.
Yeah, I said Joe Burrow. I mean, I think Joe Burrow has showed me just enough. Cincinnati, draft a damn lineman this year.
A bunch of them. A bunch of them.
Yeah, your first 4 picks, you need to be linemen. Center, guard, tackle, finish all that, get some backups, make some good free agent signing because you got Joe Mixon, you got Samaje Perine, and then your wide receivers are good, your quarterback is good. And your defense is decent as well, too. So just fix the damn line. I mean, yes, I understand, going and getting T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. I understand it. They're good. They can be great once number 9 has time to pass the ball. So, I'm sorry we got off on a tangent, but yeah, Scotty, that's the general consensus around here. It's kind of like, all right, Baker. All right, Baker. But he's hurt this year, so I mean, Some of it's deserved and some of it's not.
Yeah, he is. I mean, you got to give him credit. He is trying to play through a bad injury, but
yeah, and they won yesterday. So yeah, they
did beat the Ravens. Which they had to have that game.
Yeah, that's one of you got. You got to win games. All right, move right along. We got the best name in the game, JoJo Comfort, and he says plenty to choose from here, but I'm torn between Rashaan Salam, Gino Torretta, and Matt Leinart. All right, so he said I'd have to say Torretta. Dude maybe played 3 games and racked up a whopping 50 yards, give or take a few.
Yeah, Gino Torretta was not good. I don't know if he came in as much hype as Matt Leinart did, but I can remember when Matt Leinart came in the league, I heard a scout somewhere. I can't remember if it was on TV or on radio. I just remember this scout saying that Leinart was not going to be as good as expected because when he was at UFC, he was basically throwing the ball down to an area, and he had such great athletes, they were just beating everybody else to the area and catching it. That he was not quite a pro-ready quarterback. Man, was that right? I thought he was crazy. I thought Matt Leinart looked the part. He looked to me like he was going to be a big-time NFL quarterback. So I was disappointed. Out of those 3, Leinart was the one that I would probably say I had the highest expectations for and didn't meet him for me personally. That's just so good answer, Joe Comfort.
Yep. And Rashaan Salam had something called injuries.
Yeah, he never got. It seemed like his career never really got going.
Nah, I mean, you know what this kind of reminds me of? A non-Heisman winner, a fellow by the name of Kajana Carter.
Yeah, from Penn State.
As to where injuries was like, hey, I'm here, I'm not going nowhere, and you won't be a great football player. So yeah,
Yeah.
man, those injuries are something else. All right, moving right along. David Romito, he said, I honestly didn't expect most since Barry Sanders in '88 to really truly light it up. He said the ones I did. Most disappointing ever for me was Mike Rozier.
Mike Rozier from Nebraska won the Heisman in, I think it was 84, 83 or 84. I think it was 84.
Mm-hmm.
And went to the USFL out of college, played for the Pittsburgh Maulers of the USFL.
Okay.
I think they were only in the league 1 or 2 years, and they didn't last very long. And then I remember him playing with the Houston Oilers, and he had an okay career, but he just never was like a. I don't know if he made any Pro Bowls or any of that, but he was definitely not a long-term great running back. So good answer there, Dave Romito.
All right, Dave Romito. All right, here we go. We got Jeff Styles. Don't call me phenomenal, all right? He says, I thought Ricky Williams would own the career rushing record at the end of his playing days, but that theory went up in smoke. I think he ended up with only around 9,000 yards. 9,000 yards ain't that bad.
No, I don't know if he ended up with that many. If he had that many, that would surprise me. I want to look that up and see how many he finished. But Ricky Williams, I would tend to agree with Styles here that I thought he was going to be a stud. He looked the part to me. He looked like the next coming of Earl Campbell down there in Houston, and I guess maybe because I didn't watch Texas football. That's what I mean, Earl Campbell from Texas. I guess I didn't maybe watch him enough in college as much as I watched highlights and stuff. I guess I didn't know he was such a weirdo. Because if you remember, like right as a rookie, he was doing post-game interviews with his helmet on, with the visor on.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was very odd off the bat. I guess he had some anxiety issues and stuff. And then he decided that weed was way more important than football till he realized that you don't get paid to smoke weed, and he had to go back to football. And I mean, he was a bruiser. He was a bruising running back. He had a decent career with Miami, but like Styles said, when you saw him coming out, he looked like, I'm going to own every rushing record. I'm going to be the guy. And he finished his career with 10,009 yards. So yeah, more than I expected. He had 5,000 yard seasons, first two with New Orleans. You know, had some catches out of the backfield, but you know, his career, I think, always is going to be looked at through that gap in the middle of leaving to go run around the world and smoke weed, and it just seemed like he left a lot on the table.
Ricky did, man. Ricky was a phenomenal athlete. Like you said, Scottie D, we didn't know a lot about him because, you know, being in, South Carolina, we didn't watch a lot of, Texas football.
I just didn't watch him enough, I guess, but.
Yeah, but from what I saw, I'm like, man, this dude is fast. He's big. He got dreads. He's the real deal. But I think Ricky,
he looked up like a warrior.
Yeah. But I think Ricky found his calling and being involved in the marijuana business, and I think he has some like dispensaries out in the West Coast. That fits him. That is perfect for him because weed was gonna take precedence anyway. All right, so moving,
yeah.
So moving right along, we got JR. JR gave us a list, all right? So here we go. He said Eric Crouch in Nebraska, who never played in the NFL. Jason White in Oklahoma. Let's see, RG3 out of Baylor.
Okay.
And Marcus Mariota out of Oregon. And then
it took JR a little bit to get warmed up there. His first two answers, nobody expected those other two cats to be good in the NFL. That's a classic example of picking a bust.
Yeah.
I even mentioned Eric Crouch last week.
Yeah.
No.
Because Eric Crouch got drafted by the Packers, right? If I'm not mistaken. I think he got drafted by the Packers.
I thought it was the Rams, but might be wrong.
Yeah. So either way, he's like, well, we want you to play
wide receiver.
And he was like, nah. And it's like, we want you to play that wide receiver. He was like, nah. He's like, we want you to play wide receiver. He's like, oh, I'm going to Canada.
Yeah. At the time, he didn't seem to fit the mold of the NFL quarterback. He might actually be better suited to today's style, more of a running option kind of quarterback. Yeah, he was drafted by the Rams. But my expectation was not that he was going to be like a franchise quarterback.
No, I was like Eric Crouch. I said, okay, he's because he did a lot in Nebraska. I remember that one play where he, I think he lined up his wide receiver and caught a wide open ball and ran it for a touchdown. I mean, he if anything, he was an athlete.
Very much so, yeah. Very much.
He kind of reminds me of Woodrow Dancer, who played for your Cowboys and B Live's Clemson Tigers.
All roads lead to Dabo.
Somebody had to say that. I wasn't gonna say it, but yeah. So he kind of reminded me of Woodrow Dancer because what they have him doing, they had him playing running back, right, and kick returner. I remember they had Woody Dancer doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, he plays for the rival Clemson Tigers, but boy, he was a damn joy to watch. God, he was a joy to watch. All right, the Hall of Famer, Uncle Max, he says, for me, it's Archie Griffin, the two-time Heisman winner that went on to have a very mediocre career in his 7 years with the Bengals. That's the only thing I ever hear about Archie Griffin. He won two Heismans, but as far as the next level, I didn't even know he played for the Bengals. I didn't even know he was in the league for 7 whole years.
Yeah, that's another one. Obviously, when he was winning Heisman's, I was an infant, so I didn't.
Yeah, so you don't know.
Uncle Max, with all due respect, is 100. Uncle Max is like 100. So, sorry, Uncle Max. B-Live wasn't here to tell you that.
Uncle Max, B-Live's not here, so Scottie D had to fill in the void. I'm being respectful, Uncle Max. They know better than that.
I'm sorry.
Their mamas raised them better.
I'm sorry.
We love you, Uncle Max.
So, but honestly, this might be the best answer out of anybody on the list because nobody else has won 2 of them.
2 of them.
Nobody else won 2 Heismans. He won 2 Heismans, and yet, his NFL career was short, and it wasn't, not much to it.
Yep. Scottie, do you think we'll ever see another 2-time Heisman winner?
I don't for 2 reasons. One, if you win it as an underclassman, there's a good chance you're going to leave and go pro. Mm-hmm. And 2, I think the voters have tendency to not lean towards you if you've already gotten one. Because if you remember, after Matt Leinart won one, he was in the room with Reggie Bush, and Bush got that one, and that was kind of a toss-up between those 2 guys. I thought that year. So more underclassmen are getting them these days than back, like when Archie Griffin was there. That was not very many juniors were even getting them. It was mostly for seniors back at that time. So that's why I don't think that. I mean, it's not unheard of if someone would win it again. I mean, kid from Alabama, young, he might win it again next year if he goes off. But is he going to come out and be an NFL player? I don't know. I mean, who knows? He might sit out a year and wait and get drafted. People aren't even playing their bowl games. That's a whole other thing. But but my answer is maybe. But I tend to lean towards we won't see that again. I mean, that was 74, 75. Yeah. It's been, 40 years since it's happened in the first place. So
they say all records are meant to be broken, but between that one, Joe DiMaggio's 56 game hitting streak, and the Dolphins' undefeated season totality probably won't be broken. Probably not be broken. Wasn't that one of our choices of the voices? Which record do you not see being broke?
We did run one of those back. It's been a while, over a year or so.
Yeah, we did. All right, here we go. We got Terrible Pete Talansky, and he says, Scott, as a Giants fan, the answer is simple. Ron Dane is the most disappointing Heisman Trophy winner ever. Look at these terrible stats, right? Shout out to Pete Talansky for the stats. He says he was all hype, no substance. He had 3,722 rushing yards. He averaged 3.8 yards a clip, 28 rushing touchdowns, What we got here? 340 receiving yards. Receiving average 6 yards a catch, I guess, and 0 receiving touchdowns. So, yeah, Ron Dayne's NFL career.
Yeah, and he was back to back with Ricky Williams, and I think he broke the records that Ricky Williams set the year prior, if I'm not mistaken, as far as the single season rushing record. But I remember not being as excited for him as I was for Ricky Williams, because to me, it just looked like Ricky Williams was a can't miss Hall of Fame. He was going to go in the league and run the league, kind of the way Adrian Peterson did, that he was just going to go into the league and just run over people and be like the best running back ever. And Ron Dayne didn't look like that to me. Now, I would have expected better than these stats, honestly. So if you're a Giants fan, this is the perfect answer. So, yeah, he definitely had a little bit of a disappointing career. I was actually, if I'm not mistaken, I think he went higher up. Like, I don't think he was even like a top 5 pick, because I think the Giants had other running backs and he was just kind of in the mix. He wasn't their featured back then.
Was Tiki Barber still there?
He may have been. I think he may have been, and did a little bit of splitting carries with Tiki.
Yeah,
I can't swear that, but I think he was. I think they did have a little time there together. But either way, he was never the focal point of the offense. Even though that's what New Orleans drafted Ricky Williams to be in that role, that's not what Ron Dayne was expected to do. He didn't have quite the physique. He was a little bit shorter and stouter than Ricky Williams.
Yeah, that's true. All right, Mike Davis said Charlie Ward, who went on to have a successful NBA career, but he said Charlie Ward.
Yeah, I didn't like that answer. It doesn't really go with the question.
Yeah.
But I understand what you're saying. We thought Charlie Ward in today's, again, he's another one of those guys ahead of his time. Probably would have been a good NFL quarterback today. Yeah. They weren't playing that style of offense back then. We had one for Sean Connors. Did you see that one, Eddie?
I think I missed that one.
He was under Pete's thread. He said the biggest in his opinion was Leinart, which we touched on already.
Yep.
And he said, I know RG3 and Johnny Manziel were bad too, but he didn't expect the greatness from them. He thought Leinart was going to be a stud. So similar thought process to what I had with Matt Leinart.
Gotcha. All right, moving right along. We have, we got Martin Tracy, Matty Ice, who ain't in the pokey. All right,
Matty Ice.
All right,
not in jail this week.
Not this time. All right, he said George Rogers in 1980. And here's the story behind it. I just moved here from Boston, and at the time I was heavily immersed in football. My coaches here in North Myrtle Beach were great coaches. One I played for, Bear Bryant, Mike and Sean Cassidy's dad. While playing, all my friends and teammates were either Clemson or Gamecocks fans. It was important for me to pick a side. Yeah, you know what time it is. I didn't like orange, and my quarterback and friend Jay Ward, whose father was coach, were Gamecocks fans, so that choice was easy. And that time, George Rogers was the talk of the town. So when he was drafted by the Aints, it was expected he would be their savior. Instead, he succumbed to the siren call of something that has been taken down many greats, coke. I didn't know George Rogers had a cocaine issue. New to me. I don't know how true it is. Let's see. And never got to shine like I was hoping he would. Yeah, George Rogers was a big deal in the state of South Carolina back in 1980, and then he had an okay career, and then he just fizzled out after that.
Yeah, he actually, if I remember right, he had a pretty good start with New Orleans. He rushed for 1,600 yards his rookie year. Had another 1,000-yard season with them a couple years later, and then actually he played 3 years with Washington, and they were good years. 3 years with them, 2 out of 3 years, he went for over 1,000 yards. And I believe he was on the Super Bowl team that Doug Williams led them to. I'm pretty sure. I know that in that same time, they had Timmy Smith, who rushed for Super Bowl record 200 yards in that game against Denver. But he retired due to some injury. So he was one of those guys that just went out there and got beat up a lot. I hadn't heard the thing that Matty Ice mentioned about the drug issue. Apparently, he did get arrested for drugs and was in a treatment center for cocaine addiction in 1982. And evidently, in the back end of his career, he got clean enough to finish all the rest. That may have been why the Saints he parted ways with him. I can't quite remember that. But after his career was over, he got arrested in Columbia, South Carolina, with possession with intent to distribute cocaine and marry Juliana. And now, from what I understand now, I've heard that he's had a clean career. I've seen him at the Hootie and Blowfish tournament several times, and heard good things about him. So hopefully that's just youth, and that stuff's well behind him, because he does seem like a very classy guy, and he did seem like he was destined for a better career than how it ended up. I mean, he had a few good seasons in there, some 4,000-yard seasons out of 7, but yeah, like Matty Ice said, that dude was expected to be. He was another one that was expected to be a killer when he got to the NFL.
Yep, a big damn deal. All right, Jay Martin, who piggybacked on Martin Tracy's post, he said, for me, it's Jason White or Eric Crouch. 2 for the Crouch man.
Who said that?
Jay Ward.
Oh.
Yeah, Jay Ward. But somebody said Jason White's knees were already shot by the time he graduated from Oklahoma. And we all know what happened with Eric Crouch.
Jason White shouldn't have won that Heisman. Larry Fitzgerald had his hands all over that trophy. He's the true winner of the Heisman in 2003.
Yeah.
So blah.
Yeah, because when I saw Jason White, I was like, somebody asked me, what you think about Jason White? Oh, yeah, all right, I guess. I guess it's all about I guess at that time it was all about where you played and who you played for instead of what you actually, doing on the field. Because I ain't gonna lie to you, I thought
bias.
Yeah, pit bias. I just thought Jason White was average. I'm not gonna lie to you, and now he's a coach somewhere. All right, so with that,
he didn't do much. Wait a minute, let's not be so quick to dismiss here, Eddie Kool, that the travesty that was Larry Fitzgerald not getting that Heisman that year. Everybody knew he was getting the ball, and he's still scoring 3 times a game. So that's all I have to say.
Yeah, Larry Fitz was a big deal. Trust me. I saw plenty of him. I'm like, oh, he the truth. Oh,
he was nice. He was nice for Pitt.
Real nice. And it doesn't seem like he's retired. It's just like, oh, Larry's not here. Okay.
Yeah, playing golf right now or something. I don't know.
Yeah. But shout out to him for getting his communications degree. So shout out to Tom Wynn, JoJo Comfort, best name in the game, Dave Ramito, Jeff Styles, will call me phenomenal, JR, aka Smooth Star Walker, the Hall of Fame himself, Uncle Max, Terrible Pete Talansky, Mike Davis, Matty Ice, Martin Tracy, and Jay Ward for their participation in this week's choices of the voices. Scottie D, Heisman that turned out to be in the NFL. Who you got?
Well, let me give you B-Live's answer.
Oh, I'm sorry. B-Live.
B-Live told us earlier that he liked Jameis Winston for his answer here, which is another good answer, because a Heisman winning national champion and went number 1 overall, and he's already on his second team. What is it? 6 years later, 7 years later, he just hasn't panned out. He turned the ball over too much in Tampa. He still looks like he's got some gas left in the tank. Before his injury, he had some up and down weeks with New England. Not what you expect for a guy that was going to be, a franchise quarterback. So that was B-Live's answer. A couple of the ones that I was thinking of have been mentioned. Ricky Williams was one that I was leaning towards, and I wasn't sure until this moment that I was going to go with this one, but I am going to mention Herschel Walker.
Oh.
Now, when you think of Herschel Walker's pro career, what comes to mind first and foremost?
Most people. He was a part of the trade to Minnesota.
Traded.
Yeah, he was part of the trade to Minnesota.
Yes.
Yeah, he got traded for picks, and then, yeah.
That has helped rebuild the Cowboys dynasty of the early 90s. That's his legacy, really, in the NFL. If you look at Herschel Walker's career, coming out of college, you would have thought this dude was going to be the next beast. At Georgia, he was just running over people, running around people, running past people. He was a complete stud in every aspect of the word. Mm-hmm. And then he's another one of those guys that went to the USFL out of college, played for the New Jersey Generals, and if I'm not mistaken, pretty much dominated that league.
Yeah.
The Cowboys spent a late round pick on him, and whenever it came time for those USFL players to jump over to the NFL, the Cowboys had his rights. And he joined the backfield with an aging Tony Dorsett and immediately stole the shine. He was incredible in Dallas. Unfortunately, he was the only player on the team that was any good. His third year in Dallas, after Dorsett moved on, he rushed for 1,500 yards. He was also catching 800, 700, 500 yards a season. After he left Dallas and went to Minnesota, didn't rush for 1,000 in 3 seasons with Minnesota. Did it once with Philly, and that was it, the only other time in his career. Now, he finished his career with 8,225 yards rushing and almost 5,000 receiving. Became a kick returner, had a good NFL career. He played, his first season was 86 with Dallas, and his last season, he went back to Dallas, was in 1997. So, was that 11 seasons? It wasn't like he was a scrub. He played well. He just, after he left Dallas, he didn't have, I don't know, he looked easy to tackle to me.
Yeah.
When he was with Dallas, guys were bouncing off of him. And that's why Minnesota was willing to give him a whole 3 years worth of draft picks to get their hands on him, because at the time they seemed like they were running back away from being a Super Bowl contender. And so when he went to Minnesota, it felt like they were going to go to the next level with Herschel Walker. But then I would just watch him, and it just seemed like he went down easy. I don't know. It was very strange that he didn't have quite what he had in Dallas. And he never was really known to be injury prone or anything to that nature. He played 15, 16 games a year, every year, but he just, when he came out of college, he looked like he was going to go on to become the leading rusher in NFL history. He was going to blow by Jim Brown and Walter Payton and all those guys, and it just simply didn't happen. So from a standpoint of expectation to the finished product, Herschel Walker would be my answer, even though he was not technically a bust and a failure out of the league in 4 years type of sense of the word. That's my pick, Eddy. Cool. Who you got?
Well, I'm going to say Johnny Manziel. I'm just going to say Johnny Manziel because he had a whole lot of hype behind him and just came to Cleveland and just poo-pooed the bed. Like, not to, even though Ryan Leaf was not a Heisman winner, but he poo-pooed the bed. I'm not going to lie to you. He poo-pooed the bed. That's my 1A. My 1B is Robert Griffin III. I remember when the team formerly known as the Skin of Reds, the Redskins, the football team, when they played a early season 1 o'clock game against the Saints, and RG3 was throwing that ball all over the place. I mean throwing the hell at that ball. And I was like, I remember I told somebody on Facebook, I said, these aren't your daddy's Redskins anymore. I'm thinking it's a new team, a new era. They got this going on, and they got Coach Shanahan, and things going to be good. And then he messed around and got hurt. Now, I will say this, though. I'll lay a thumb on some of the blame to Mike Shanahan, because he should have been like, you know what? Your knee's jacked up. I don't need you playing. And so when he hurt his knee in that playoff game, his career was never the same ever since. And he's had stops in Baltimore and Cleveland, and now he's doing color commentary. And now he wrote a tell-all book. Scottie D, did you have a chance to see the link that I sent you that LeVar Arrington has some real choice words about RG3?
You know, I've heard different bits and pieces. I didn't read that whole thing. I heard bits and pieces that he was not too thrilled with this book coming out.
No, because LeVar Arrington was like, look, I've been saying this for years, and I hadn't been listening. And no one's been listening. He said, now RG3 wants to say something. I say it like this, Scottie D, and it's like this a lot in life. Think about you being RG3, you're still good and you're trying to get a job, but all of a sudden you put this book out. Don't nobody want nothing to do with you. Don't nobody want nothing to do with you. But see, now you're retired and you got a desk job. Well, I'm going to tell everything I know. Which goes to show, when you have more, when you need something, you'll do less to divert that. But when you ain't got nothing to give, I'm going to tell everybody I know about this, to that, to that, to that, to this. Joe Gaffin, we love you, but your organization is trash, bruh. your organization is trash. It's a whole lot dysfunctions. They getting people from other teams fired. Ain't nobody got nothing good to say about them. Trent Williams, he still want to fight people, even in San Francisco. He still want to beat somebody up in Washington. But speaking of another, yeah, I'm going to make a list one day. Teams that need a complete top to bottom and then the bottom to top overhaul. Jacksonville and Washington. You just made the list.
Yeah. I will say this. So I've heard Robert Griffin III on some of these football broadcasts, and I think he's actually doing a pretty good job.
Yeah, he's good.
I'm starting to like it. I've heard him a little bit raw, but I think he's getting better and better. I think he has a lot to offer the way of as a broadcaster, to be honest with you. Yeah. But not only did the injuries pile up on him, but I think the league figured him out too. That he was part of that. Right around the same time, Russell Wilson and Kaepernick, they were all running that kind of
RPO,
run option with and that gets guys hurt. Wow. And I think Kaepernick got figured out before all the controversy. Take away all the stuff that happened with him later, but he started getting figured out. And Russell Wilson, I think, kind of took his game to another level, and he got better as a passer, whereas the other guys kind of washed up. But the injuries, no doubt, crushed RG3 for sure.
Yeah, the injuries really did him no favor, no whatsoever. All right, Scottie D, with that being said, what's on tap next week for Choices of the Voices?
All right, so next week will be Christmas week. We will be coming to you on Tuesday, just days before Santa Claus comes to town. So we're going to go off sports topic and ask you next week, what is your favorite Christmas movie? No sports next week. In the Choices of Voice. Favorite Christmas movie. Woo! Something different. And that'll give us something to talk about next week. Pretty cool.
So think about all those movies that y'all watched on the Hallmark Channel, because they got like 1,000 of them there. The Christmas movies on Lifetime.
Yeah, they got the 1,000. They're all the same.
Yeah, it's like
they're all the same.
They just play them on different nights of the week. The 25
they're all romance with like 8 different actors.
Honey, I'm home for Christmas. I love you. I'm not going anywhere. Where have we seen this before? Oh, that's right. On the next channel 3 days ago.
It's what's that? It's the cute girl, and she meets. It's the cute girl at the beginning of the movie. Yeah. Meets a guy who is the outcast, but she already has a boyfriend, but he's a jerk. Eventually, one of them moves away, and then they come back, and then the bad boyfriend gets ousted, and then they end up happily ever after at the end, kissing in front of a Christmas tree. That's kind of the. I just summed it up for you.
He's like, Jillian, I can love you way better than Mark. Dump him, and I'll be your Christmas present. Is this what
I really want to be with you, but I can't. I've committed to him so long. Our families are involved.
Girl, damn him and those families. It's just me, and I have no family.
We maybe should do the Amtrak thing like B-Lab always says.
Yeah, we're going to Amtrak it. See you next week for the Choices of the Voices.
Okay, boys, let's bring it home with a round of pepper.
Well, you heard the woman. It's time for us to go home and get the hell out of here. But before we go, we're going to leave you with the round of pepper. That's right. You know how we do it. 3 topics, rapid fire style, kind of, sort of, not really, here to enlighten, engage, educate, and entertain. Enlighten, engage, educate. The 4 E's. Yes, I got it right. In no particular order. But with that being said, I'll go first, all right? On this day in history, back in 1947, the Cleveland Browns, they beat the New York Yankees 14-3 to win the AAFC championship game. For those of you that don't know your football, that was I think it's called the All-American Football Conference. It was the league before the NFL. And after that, the NFL was born, and the Cleveland Browns, they became a part of the NFL. Over to you, Scottie D.
Excellent. Yeah. All right. So by the time we release this podcast, this might be already a done deal. But as I'm recording, Steph Curry needs 7 3-pointers to become the all-time 3-point shooter in NBA history. He has a game on Monday night, this past Monday night, against the Indiana Pacers. So by the time we're recording, he may already have accomplished this record. But just want to give a shout out to Steph Curry. for two things. One, being the greatest shooter I have personally ever seen, and also for ruining basketball from every level because everybody tries to play like him and nobody else can. So all the way down to my nephew's ninth grade league, people were trying to gun threes and play like Steph Curry. So thanks, Steph, for ruining the game of basketball and for being the greatest shooter I've ever seen. Over to you, Eddy. Cool.
The perfect 2 for
I'm
1.
sorry. The ball.
The ball.
The ball.
You gonna key for that one. All right, so name, image, and likeness, NIL, right? So guess who else has jumped in the NIL game? Anybody got any guess? Anybody? I'll tell you who jumped.
No guess.
All right, I'll tell you. World Wrestling Entertainment. Yes, they have jumped into the NIL, the name, image, and likeness game. Except, of course, they always put their spin on everything. I'm just glad they didn't name it the Braun Breaker Invitational. It's called the inaugural Next in Line class. Okay, it includes athletes from 13 universities, 7 NCAA conferences, and 4 sports. In addition to the United States, the class includes representation from a myriad of countries spanning from Canada and Nigeria. And the following 15 athletes joined Olympic gold medalist Gable Stevenson in WWE's first of its kind NIL program, according to WWE.com, brother. All right. We got Carlos Alves of Ventura, California, a 6'6", 305 track and field athlete from the Ohio State University. That's a big boy. Why is he not on the football field? And then we have the Cavender twins, Haley and Hannah of Gilbert, Arizona, both stand at 5'6", and they both play basketball for the University of Fresno State. AJ Ferrari, he ain't a car, but he's from Dallas, Texas. He stands at 6 foot, 200 pounds, and he's a wrestler from Oklahoma State University. Lexi Gordon of Fort Worth, Texas, 6-foot basketball player from Duke. Aaliyah Hutchins from Toronto, Canada, a 5'5" track and field athlete who runs for Wake Forest. John Cran, listen to this cat, Scottie D, of Riverside, California, a 7-foot tall, 400-pound football player from Portland State University. He's going straight to the PC. He's not going to no NFL.
7 foot.
Yeah.
400. Sheesh.
Yeah. All right. Glenn Logan of Kenner, Louisiana, 6'5", 305-pound football player from LSU. Isaac O. I'm going to call him Isaac O because I don't want to be disrespectful and butcher his name. Isaac O. I lost my place. Well, anyways, okay. Isaac O from Lagos, Nigeria. He's a 6'4", 275-pound football player from the University of Alabama. Are you surprised? I'm not.
Well tied.
Yeah, Mason Paris of Lawrenceburg, Indiana, 6'2", 275. He's a wrestler from the University of Michigan, go blue. Masai Russell of Potomac, Maryland, 5'5" track and field athlete from the University of Kentucky. John Seaton, Hillsborough, New Jersey, 6'1", 285-pound football player from Elon University. Joe Spivak of Lombardy, Illinois, 6 foot tall, 300 pounds, football player from Northwestern University. Dalton Wagner of Spring Grove, Illinois, a 6'9", 330-pound football player from the University of Arkansas.
Big.
Yeah, and Riley White of Hoover, Alabama, 5'6", track and field athlete from the University of Alabama. Let's see, I'm looking at this list. Probably about 5 of these we'll probably be seeing in the Performance Center and on the main roster. By that time, it might be NXT 3.0 because this 2.0 mess ain't hitting. Over to you, Scottie D.
Wow. All those guys are looking to get into the wrestling business, huh?
Yep.
All right. I want to send a shout out to the parents of Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp has been a stud this year. He's one of the top receivers in the NFL. I wouldn't generally say I'm a fan of the name Cooper. I'm not a big fan, but Cooper Kupp sounds like a good football player. So shout out to his parents, because if they'd have named him like Bob Kupp, he wouldn't be leading the league in receptions, or he wouldn't be having such a great, or Bill Kupp. Doesn't have the same ring as Cooper Kupp. So good on his parents for coming up with the name Cooper Kupp of the Rams. Eddy Kool, the ball.
Bill Kupp, Bob Kupp, John Kupp, I automatically think golf, and more golf. Yeah. Yeah, Cooper.
Nobody's throwing the ball to Bob Cup. I can assure you, Bob Cup ain't getting 1,000 yards a season. No Bob Cups. Cooper
Bob.
Cup,
Yeah,
different story.
Bob is someone with a cup. All right. So here we go. All right. So as you saw on our Facebook, I'm jumping around a little bit, but third and final pepper point. First and foremost, I want to give a shout out to Wolverine. He has the same last name as this guy. Yep, me. Shout out to him, Wolverine. He's a senior wide receiver at South Carolina State University. Vereen accepted an invitation to the HBCU Legacy Bowl, which we played on February 19th, 2022 at Ullman Stadium in New Orleans, Louisiana. And for the season, for the South Carolina State Bulldogs, has 44 receptions, 567 yards, and 3 touchdowns. So it's pretty good to see a local kid from back home getting some shine in a postseason bowl. And you can find this game on the NFL Network. But guess what? He's not the only Vereen doing big things back home. Elijah Vereen, a running back from the North Myrtle Beach High School, where I graduated from, he is in the running as a finalist for the PD South Carolina High School Sports Running Back of the Year. I don't have his stats, but if you're in the running, you're doing pretty good. And from the looks of it, he just might run away with this award. So shout out to Elijah and his parents, and Will and his parents. A little quick story about Will's father. Will's father used to cut my hair a very long time ago. Will's father, Wayne Vereen, used to cut my hair, my father's hair as well too. So
no relation?
Probably it's a family affair.
Yeah.
So shout out to those Vereen boys in South Carolina, making the last name proud. And that goes to show Shane Vereen ain't the only one that know how to play football. Over to you, Scottie D.
What about Cooper Vereen? How's Cooper Vereen playing these days? He any good?
I don't know, but that'd be a strong name. That'd be a strong name.
Cooper Vereen.
Yep.
Yeah, see, not quite as same as Cooper Cup. Cooper Cup.
All right. Something about that cup. Something about that cup with the 2 P's at the end of it.
That's a good name, Cooper Cup.
Yeah.
All right, so reports came out this past week that Jalen Rose and ESPN moderator Molly Qerim will be getting a divorce. Molly, as you know, is very, very hot.
Very pretty.
So you're saying there's a chance. Oh, wait a minute. This just in. Stephen A. Smith got his claws on Molly. I guess I'm out after all. Guess no chance. Could there be a little controversy at ESPN? Well, Stephen A., Jalen Rose, Molly, love triangle? Stay tuned. Oh, and by the way, off topic, winning the Grey Cup in overtime against the Hamilton Tiger Cats on Sunday night. While America was watching Aaron Rodgers owning the Bears, the CFL had their Super Bowl, the Grey Cup, and the Blue Bombers are the Grey Cup champions. Eddy Kool, da ball.
Yep, they won the Grey Cup back in 2019. No season last year. They won it this year, so technically they won it back to back.
They did back to back, right?
Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Yeah, Scottie D, that's it for my pepper. Did you finish all your pepper too?
Yeah, and I'm hoping that I can talk B Live into not having his feelings so hurt and to come back and join us next week.
Oh man,
maybe he'll be in the Christmas spirit and he'll want to tell us his favorite Christmas movie, and we can all make up and be friends again.
Exactly. Before we get out of here, we want to send our condolences to the families of former Denver Broncos wide receiver Demaryius Thomas, who passed away over the weekend at age 33. They said no foul play was suspected in his passing. It was more health-related issues. Real sad during this time of the year, so close to Christmas, so far away from Thanksgiving. So I
sounded like he was having problems with seizures, is what the early reports are.
Yep, I remember I was watching a few days ago Shannon Sharp. He was devastated about it because, he's a former Bronco as well, too. And he told a story about how Shannon Sharp was telling Eric Decker and Demaryius Thomas, and I don't know who the other wide receivers was, but hey, man, Peyton Manning's come, so you guys got to really step your game up. Get ready because it's fit to come fast, quick, and in a hurry. And so it did. And I guess he said he heard from somebody that Demaryius Thomas wasn't doing too good, and Shannon didn't have a chance to reach out to him. I'll say that to say this: if you ever hear that somebody's not doing too great, reach out to them as soon as possible because you never know. Or if they ever happen to people cross my mind all the time, and when they do, I try my best to reach out to them. So just let's be better as a society and reach out to each other. Let's reach out to each other. Let's love each other and take care of each other. Right, Scottie D?
It's easier these days with texting and emailing or Facebook, whatever. There's a lot more ways to do it, and I try to do that myself. I try to just reach out every once in a while and say, hey, I haven't talked to you. I was just thinking about you. Said a prayer for you today. That kind of stuff. So yeah, that's man. I hated hearing this Demaryius Thomas thing. One of the memory for me with him is always going to be that he was the one that was on the receiving end of Tim Tebow's greatest moment as a pro when they beat the Steelers in the playoff game in overtime when he went across the middle and scored that game-winning touchdown. And I remember at the time that was like when they started doing this, the NFL rules of, it used to be first team scored wins. Now the NFL has, if you kick, Demaryius Thomas scored, I was thinking Steelers still get a chance to get the ball. Why are they celebrating? And I was like, oh, if you score a touchdown, I learned that rule that night whenever Demaryius Thomas scored that touchdown against Pittsburgh. And as a guy who is not a fan of the Steelers, that was a pretty, that was a fun moment for me too. But that was like the most memorable moment of the Tebow era, I think, in Denver. And I think that was his last win, because if I'm not mistaken, they lost the playoffs in the next year's when Peyton Manning did come in. So, too bad for that man. And condolences to his family. Eddie, Kool, I'm out of stuff to talk about, man. I'm exhausted covering for Be Live this week. I'm exhausted. I am all talked out.
All right, Scottie D is all talked out. Wow, that is a first. Well, Scottie D, it's time for us to get up out of here and go hate watch Monday Night Raw, or even better, go watch some Monday Night Football. Something's cooking in the kitchen. Ooh. So with that being said, and in closing, do something nice for yourself. And if you can do something nice for someone else, they'll greatly appreciate it now more than ever. But before I go, look, it's the holiday season. Restaurants and retail shops are busy. Some of them are still understaffed. Practice patience. Don't you bring your broke behind in a restaurant and start acting silly. Oh, I only got $55, but our bill is $56. Hey, look, ain't no shame in going to a buffet, going to McDonald's and Burger King if you got it, all right? Just save yourself some embarrassment. So, practice patience, love each other, and take care. And with that being said, it's been another episode of the Sports Bros Podcast. Ain't you supposed to be getting up at this point in time, Scottie D? Like moving around and stuff? Doing all that? Yep, and he's doing it. Now I'm just going to cover the screen. With that being said.
Yes, sir.
There you go. Y'all take care. Sir. Goodbye. Good night.
Yes, sir.
Love each other. Take care.
Yes.
See you next week.
Yes,
another episode of the Sports Bros Podcast. One more time, Scottie D.
Yes, sir.
See you next week.
Yes.